Have you ever met the connector? Well, he ponders, he helps, he creates, he writes, he speaks. He basically connects people and brings them together. I speak about Paul Solano of PS and All Marketing Group. At psandallmarketinggroup.com, you will receive an assembled group of Paul's contacts and connections that cross into many sectors of life. Please contact Paul Solano at 617-240-4130 or psandallmarketinggroup@gmail.com if you are in the market for a wide array of services. Again, please contact The Connector, Paul Solano at 617-240-4130 or psandallmarketinggroup@gmail.com with any questions. And now, here's Paul Solano, the host of Paul Ponders.
Welcome to hashtag Paul Ponders. I've really enjoyed bringing you fun, informative, intriguing, and pondering podcasts. Many thanks to hashtag PodPro Entertainment. Today's collaborating sponsor, Scott Albertson of hashtag Project142.org, Riverworks Credit Union, NMLS number 410564, and Remax Renaissance Realty of Reading. Thanks for listening, rating, reviewing, and subscribing. Let hashtag Paul Ponders begin. Greetings, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today, we have a very special guest, a returning guest. You may have heard him on episode number 12 with another venture that he is involved in. But I do want to introduce Staff Sergeant Gene Sticco, U.S. Air Force, retired, as our guest. Gene, welcome.
Hey, thanks, Paul. Good to be back.
It's great to have you on. It really is. And I just want to give a quick intro for you. Gene, you are an expert in analyzing complex intelligence and translating technical concepts into clear, actionable insights. Now, vis-a-vis, we're going to come up with a great discussion regarding the private notes of a Soviet engineer who reverse engineered a UFO. And you have written a book with a couple of other individuals, and the name of the book is Engineering Infinity, Earth's First Interstellar Blueprint. So, Gene, I want to thank you and welcome you to this Paul Ponders podcast. It's really great to have you on. And if you just want to let our listeners in Paul Ponders' world learn about an incredible discovery that you came across through your family.
Yeah, thank you. It really is just mind-blowing. And last Wednesday, the 11th, we held a press conference in Malden, which was really our first public debut. We published the book back at the end of 2024 and just kind of let it linger for a while. See if it picked up on its own. And then with the press conference, since then, it has been a whirlwind week of developments associated with it. And it's just been fascinating as the origins. And, those are simply, it was Nat's father, my father-in-law, sent his grandson some old work that he had. They were talking before the holidays in 2019. Natalja was telling him about our son AJ and him having an interest in aerospace and getting involved in Civil Air Patrol. And he casually says, "Oh, I'm going to send some of my old work." So he was a aeronautics engineer back during the days of the USSR. So originally he was born in Kazakhstan. Natalja was born in Latvia. That period was it was all just the Soviet Union. We received him. Holidays came and went, busy as all families are. We didn't really give him a second thought. And right before New Year's, I think it was exactly the 30th of December, 2019, we had gotten word. We knew he had been sick for a couple of weeks, and we got word that he had passed. So we never had a chance to talk to him about them. We had never even opened them. A couple of weeks later, Nat had, a dream about her dad, which a lot of people do, particularly after a passing and you're not there. But in the dream, he handed her a stack of documents. And when she woke up and told me about it, I said, well, where's the stuff he sent for AJ? And when we opened them up, it was just amazing because it was a total of 119 pages filled with, they were obviously older documents. You could tell right away, 1980s. They were typewritten, they were handwritten. The diagrams using different colored inks. Highly complex physics, and I say highly complex physics like I even understand physics to begin with. But this was like just wow. And as we not long into them, as we're flipping the pages around, we start seeing diagrams of what looks like a UFO. And there's other diagrams that, are obviously the cosmos and things like that. And there's machinery and it looks like a wing of a UFO. And so I'm asking that, I'm like, well, what's it say? What's it say? And she's fluent, but totally bilingual, I should say. And the technical wording of it was such, it was just vocabulary she didn't have to appropriately translate it, as you'd, like you would a story or a general news article or anything. But, those pages, when she looked at the title, she said, it says, technical drawing of the UFO. And on the subsequent pages, it's all titled The UFO. So that started what became a 4-year journey, beginning with just trying to reach out to the local academic community here in the Boston area and see if there was a Russian physicist on staff I could buy breakfast for who could tell me, is this something that is part of academic discourse? Or is it, the ramblings of a madman that, might make a nice family heirloom? And we couldn't find anybody. We couldn't connect with anyone. Then I reached out to the popular UFO community and figureheads in that, dropping emails, dropping social media tags and direct messaging. Of all of it, I got one response from Nick Pope from Ancient Aliens, who said, it looks fascinating. I wish I knew somebody who could help you. And that's when I was like, well, I guess we're on our own. And for a while, Nat loosely translated, what she could. And ultimately, a friend of mine, the third co-author of the book, Mario Fiallo, who's an enterprise system architect and builds all sorts of craziness, he was working on his own AI language models and this and that. And so he used that as an opportunity to create the first one, his first project, I should say, to specifically translate my father-in-law's papers. And those papers we just plugged in, and that's what became the book Engineering Infinity.
Wow. So this is a book. And about how long is the book?
So between all the images, the translations, and a couple of, brief introduction explaining the story, explaining the context in which the reader should look at it, and the final part of it is a call to the scientific and investigative and research communities to dive into it, because none of us are, seemingly smart enough to do it ourselves and validate it. But in total, it's about 290 pages.
Wow, that's quite a very extensive book and all. And it's something that you would be able to buy this book on Amazon, I believe.
So what we've done, and it's really a result of the press conference last week and a lot of the connections that have come out of that and the interest. So yes, it's available on Amazon. The best place to start, though, is on our website at engineeringinfinitybook.com, all one word. And what we've done is we have made it a complete version of it all 290 pages plus front and back covers, is available open, free to read and explore right from our website. So you can log in there, you can look at everything, zoom in on it. The link to buy a hard copy of it from PayPal there is there, and there's a link to download it as well for I think it's about $24 to download it, because some people like to do their own math and make their own notes. So we wanted to make it as accessible as possible to the widest breadth reasonable, because we want thoughtful, insightful, feedback on it. We're already talking again as a result of people that have come into the picture now, including a gentleman named Jim Auroch from MUFON, which is the Mutual UFO Network. It's probably the world's largest organization dedicated to UFO research and disclosure. Jim's with the Massachusetts branch. He actually came to the press conference. So we're already talking about, in addition, where we can polish up the translation, where we can add some of this information that's starting to come in from other researchers. There's an organization down in New Jersey. It's actually a space-focused startup that is looking specifically at advanced propulsion. I had a wonderful discussion with one of the gentlemen from there who has been doing this for years, and has thousands of documents from other scientists and researchers who allegedly have done similar things on bits and pieces. This group actually has, and they're known for doing scientific examinations of alleged crash site debris and things like that. So very credible, very legitimate people. And, he described, I asked, I said, well, how's it compared to the other things you've seen and have? And he said, this is 95% aligned. He said, and the stuff that isn't aligned that they want to dig into a little bit deeper, he said it's either just a different view of the same things. He said, or it is game-changing, just extraordinary sort of summary, I guess I should say, of a lot of the issues in that community that they're looking at. And I think that's an important point in all this too, because it's not just about the drama and the spectacle of a reverse engineered UFO, which in and of itself is, groundbreaking, but the practical application that there is math and science in there written in the 1980s and early 1990s that we've found now four patents filed by the U.S., Russian, and Chinese government, all of which reflect an extension of the work. There's some direct correlations between my father-in-law's work and some of the patents. So the science in there is legit. The language in there is based on observations. I describe it as, it seems as though he observed something. He has the measurements. He describes and illustrates the layouts and the systems and the way they interface. And then the math is the attempt to explain how it operates based on those setups. So it's just really extraordinary. And like I said, everybody who's taken hold of it, the MUFON guys, the other interview I did last week with Disclosure, these guys from the Advanced Lab in New Jersey, another alternative propulsion conference asked me to speak in early July and present the information about it. So, these aren't just conspiracy theorists. These are people with proper scientific and investigative background, who advanced propulsion particularly is their bread and butter, and they're looking at it and they're saying this is either the most extraordinary work that has been found to date, and proof of a government program of reverse engineering, of which we've found other connections to the Soviet Union over the course of the last week and those particular programs. They said, or it's like finding Da Vinci's notebook where he had the drawings of helicopters and, flight and having that level of understanding of a system without the science having caught up to the person who thought of it yet, to be able to test it and implement it and do all of those things. So it's just, like I said, it's been a whirlwind of information and discovery just over the last 8 days.
Wow, that is absolutely fascinating and mind-boggling. And you truly are an expert in analyzing complex intelligence from your past career. And again, I thank you for your service with the United States Air Force. And I will say that in that Disclosure Tonight podcast, the two hosts, Thomas and Mike, were absolutely blown away with your knowledge of what you were presenting, but also the callers who were calling in were just absolutely, totally in tune with what you were speaking about. And being on a podcast of that magnitude must have been just an incredible experience.
I'll tell you the funniest thing about it, I didn't even realize I was going to be on. Mike had wrote me. Let's see, we did the press conference Wednesday. We got introduced on Thursday, spoke for a couple of hours on the phone, sent me a quick, text message saying, hey, can we do an interview on Saturday? I knew nothing about the podcast. I knew nothing about Tom. I said, yeah, sure. So Mike himself is a investigative journalist, retired NYPD. Over from Wednesday till the time we spoke, and part of our discussion was really around him vetting me and my background and vetting the work itself. I had sent him a copy of it. And so I figured, okay, yeah, well, I figured we'd talk on the phone or whatever. And then he sent a link. I said, okay, well, maybe he wants to record it. So I just kind of expected it was going to be an interview in the sense of this guy's an investigative reporter and he wants to get his details straight and this and that. And I had another interview in Waltham. There's another podcast called Total Disclosure. And coincidentally, the gentleman that runs that lives in Waltham. And he just built a home studio. So we were his first guests in his home studio. And that should be airing this weekend on Saturday, I think. So I literally pulled in the driveway at 4:43, and I had to get on this other interview at 4:45. Ran in the house, sat down, got opened up the laptop, clicked the link, and then I see all these people on there, and it's like, oh, we're going live. This is a
Wow.
this is a live interview. So I was, I was impressed with myself that I was,
You
that I
were
was
great. You were great.
with no prep. I was able to pull all that out.
And it was great having an appearance with Natalja, your wife, on the episode as well.
Yeah, and God bless, she's such a good sport. I mean, for both of us, this isn't our thing, right? We're not aspiring authors. We are not UFO people. I'll watch it on Ancient Aliens if they're, I'll throw it on in the background. Beyond that, but that is the extent and the level of knowledge and expertise that I had, that there's all these theories, and I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe sounds good, and I guess someday we'll find out one way or another. Um, and that's it. And Nat, as you know, she's got a full career as as an opera singer and traveling. She has her side gig doing IT technical writing for major corporations and things like that. And she didn't spend the time with the material that I have and dove deep into it, and she'll sit and watch me, getting into it for hours because again, that old Intel background, I want to prove it wrong, so I'm constantly testing testing these phenomena against it, and I can't prove it wrong.
Hmm.
We've certainly talked, and she was such a major part of the forensic examination of her dad and his life, and what do you remember, and all of those things that provided cues, clues, and insights
Hmm.
that add to that profile. So, and I'll give you a great example. We were talking during the interview earlier on the Saturday about life in the USSR, and that's a big part too for people to have their minds around as they're reading it, and questions come into mind. The environment is just as important as the information, and in trying to answer the questions. And one of the things I always talk about is her father being a diehard communist, waiting for the Soviet Union to come back. He was not at all a guy who embraced this new world. And she was talking about, her memories and early days. She was about 6 years old when the Soviet Union collapsed. And she made an interesting comment. She said, yeah, most of my family, they loved it. They thought, the Soviet Union was the greatest thing in the world. Hmm. But again, and the Intel guy in me picked up, and I said, and that's all the more indication that your father was highly connected and highly valued because you had privileges other people didn't normally have. Your family members had privileges and lived a much different lifestyle than a lot of people, than the quote unquote average, citizen. Um, so it's things like that. The the politics, the geopolitics, the social structure, the culture, everything at the time, for me, that went into understanding the man a little bit better, understanding the institutions that he was working in, the ones he wasn't working in or may have been connected to. All of that paints the picture. I have a mind map that's, like this big on a screen. It's enormous, of all of these interconnectivities of, the man, the education, the time period, and everything that feeds into it. And like I said, all it does is continually reinforce the idea, that that it was an official piece of work, as well as a groundbreaking piece of work.
I really truly believe that you are sitting on an incredible piece of information, knowledge, and this is going to be a game changer, as you said. Now, why don't we make a pledge right here and now that within the next 2 to 3 months, we'll give it 2 to 3 months for this to just become a global phenomenon. Okay, and it's going to happen. I believe it will.
As much as I'd love that, I'll if it does, great. The problem is the general population is more interested in spectacle and speculation than they are science. Um, trying to do things on social media, on Reddit, trying to share it. Um, the amateur physicists come out of the woodwork, um, who haven't even looked at it. They just want to put their opinion and their thumbprint on it. Good, bad, indifferent. I mean, right down to making it, to opening it up and making it free to view on the website. People are still, oh, I can't download it. I can't. Where's the free edition? The free edition is on, open the web page. You can view and explore it there, and then, oh, why are you charging for the download? Well, you know what? It's not, all these little things add up, and it'd be
Right.
nice to offset it a little bit. And if you're interested in exploring it that much, and every little contribution helps towards advancing the work. And if there's a war chest that builds up, believe me, it'll be put to good use, to continue to pursue both the science in the book, as well as the disclosure issue, which I think is one of the more important elements and timely elements that can be pulled out of it, because the document itself is 40 years old. Because, like I said, there's other people who have tens of thousands of pages of other types of related engineering, nothing of such bold claim. And there are advances in science that, this very likely could have been part of, the basis for going. But what I think it most represents, and what I'd really like people to take from it, is this idea about disclosure with the government, with our government here right now. And I'm sure you're aware they have UAP hearings. There was just a big Wall Street Journal article that came out that was trying to foo-foo the whole thing, and saying, oh no, there are no UFOs, in the Pentagon, was just running their own tests and hazing the military, which is quickly backfired on them, or as on the sources, I should say. And this is one of those things where I think if people look at it from the perspective and say, well, the USSR was working on this. Do we know about it? How do we know about it? If we don't know about it, why don't we know about it? But when I look at the patents, and particularly there's a famous U.S. Navy patent for a triangular shaped craft, that resembles a lot of the technical elements that are laid out in the book, then I think it's less likely that you're able to say we didn't know about it, this type of science and these types of principles and all of that. And then the question becomes then how did you know about it, and where is that information, and who has it?
Wow. Wow. That is absolutely spectacular. And also, as we start to wind down, if you just want to let our listeners know how to contact you and how to log into the site and hopefully download that document, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, it's engineeringinfinitybook.com. When they go there, there's actually, we've created something that we hope will become a fun community called the White Tie Division, our answer to the Men in Black, but really a network of people who want to contribute thoughtfully, as I say, and because there's a lot of work to be done, translations, verifications, all that behind the scenes stuff. So there is a way to people to get involved by leaving their email and joining that list. And everything else to contact us is from there. We're not really doing the social media side of it because it's just too distracting and unfruitful. And we really want to focus on, again, building a community of people who are interested in being part of it, who are interested in contributing. And so that's at engineeringinfinitybook.com. And right on the front page, they can dive right into the book and check it all out for themselves.
That is fabulous. Well, Gene Sticco, I thank you so much for being on, and I really want to have you on a future podcast. And I think I really truly believe that you will be hearing fewer crickets when you make some phone calls, reaching out to people, and you'll definitely having people pick up your telephone call. How does that sound?
I hope so, and I appreciate you being such a fervent advocate for us in all of this and your friendship. So thank you very much for having me, and it's always a pleasure.
Most important, my friend, Have a great evening. Hashtag indeed. I trust that you have enjoyed hashtag Paul Ponders. Again, my name is Paul Solano of PS&All Marketing Group, and I may be reached via email at paul@paulponders.com to do some more pondering. Many thanks to my longtime collaborative friend and associate, Chalonzo Amos of Pod Pro Entertainment, in bringing you our fun, exciting, informative podcasts. You rock, Techie Chalonzo. With PS&All Marketing Group, I created a side gig to connect you and get things done. Please do not hesitate to reach out to me at paul@paulponders.com with any questions. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Paul Ponders. Follow us on Twitter at Paul Ponders Pod. Follow us on Instagram at Paul Ponders Podcast. Thank you again for listening to hashtag Paul Ponders, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, our website, paulponders.com, or wherever you stream your podcasts. Subscribe, stream, rate, and review our shows. Your ratings and reviews help our show reach new audiences. Produced by Pod Pro Entertainment, hashtag Paul Ponders lives within a network of podcasts located at podproentertainment.com, hashtag the new radio. Until we meet again, my friend, stay well, hashtag indeed.